In the 19th and early 20th centuries, New York City relied on horsepower. But with the rise of cars, the city's horse population fell from over 120,000 in 1910 to just a fraction of that by 1920. Today, around 200 carriage horses remain, housed in privately owned stables in Hell's Kitchen and Hudson Yards. To some, they represent a treasured tradition.
I finally figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. My mother said I could be anything I wanted to be, and now I'm a carriage driver. I moved to New York to fight for the carriage horses here.
To others, it's a practice that belongs in the past.
How could the city council not finally put a stop to it? And they haven't, and enough is enough.
Please, what are you waiting for? Get these horses off the streets. This issue began to be fought for back in 2006. It's almost 2025, and we're still out here doing this.
NYCLAS, a nonprofit advocating for animal welfare, played a key role in passing the Carriage Horse Heat Relief Bill, a law that protects horses during hot summers. Now, the group is pushing for a complete ban, arguing it's a humane and modern solution.
The carriage drivers are not paying attention to the horses, so I just appeal to horse owners, being one myself. This is not a place for horses. If you love horses, help get them off the streets of New York.
However, David Koch, a New York City carriage driver, has a different story to tell.
Are you guys looking for a horse carriage? This happens to be one. If you walk by, it's going to be a miscarriage. The business these days is between what are called speculative or cash rides. People just walk up and take a ride. And a very significant amount of rides these days are generated through the internet. And if 68 medallions, each medallion goes out twice a day. There are more regulations in operation of this animal business than anywhere else in the world, I think.
Christina Hansen, a veteran driver and union representative, says many criticisms stem from misunderstandings of horse behavior.
We're literally with the horse all day long. We stand there, we look at them, we're just with them. We're not trying to make them do anything in particular. We're not trying to make them look pretty in a particular way. We just spend a lot of time in their presence, And then when we drive them through the park, the horses know what they're doing. People who don't really know about horses or body language or anything like that, they see the horse, with their standing there with their head down, their hind leg cocked, and they think, oh, the horse looks so sad. I mean, I don't know where they got this idea that horses don't belong in the city. They're actually urban animals. Victor Davis Hanson, historian, says horses are the ultimate urban animal. They're adaptable.
Some drivers have accused animal rights activists of using their push for a ban as a cover-up, essentially to hide their real estate interest for financial gain.
Developers want to get rid of us. They came up with this plan to fund animal rights people to claim it's hard on the horses, hoping if they can put us out of business, then they can pick the stables up for free. It's all a land grab. They're trying to come up with some reason that this is horrible on the horses, so therefore we should be put under. But I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and there have been, I'm going to say, a dozen bills that have come up before City Council. Every one of them gets voted down. If you can come up with a reasonable, fact-based, logical directive as to why we should no longer have horses, then maybe, but they've never been able to come up with that. It's pure land grab by the developers of Hudson Yards. Go look at Hudson Yards. That's all moving north, and they would love to get our buildings on the cheap.
Claims of the connection between activists and real estate developers is nothing new. Emails uncovered in 2017 linked NYCLAS co-founder and real estate executive Steve Nislik to Midtown development proposals. City Hall released the emails as a response to a public records request made by Politico in September 2015. Activists dismissed these accusations, but the questions linger. The Transportation Workers Union, which represents carriage drivers, has fought back against the proposed ban, lobbying city council members to preserve the industry.
Representing the owners as opposed to the workers, and that is a problem because unions are powerful in New York City and we're very pro-union, but sometimes the unions are on the wrong side, and so they are aggressively lobbying council members saying, no, don't support this legislation. We want to keep the horse carriages going forever and operating as if it's still 1824.
Hansen believes that activists often rely on emotional appeals rather than facts.
The animal rights people is the only movement, activist movement, where the leaders of the movement actively want their followers to know less about the subject. And I work with people that have been doing this for 40 years, 50 years, 25 years, 30 years, you know. Even somebody that's been here for just 2 or 3 years has a wealth of knowledge about horses, even if it's not, you know, book learning or something like that.
Hansen says the horses are well cared for, with vet checks twice a year and careful records to ensure they don't work too many hours.
This is the book, that's the time card. All the stables have these. It's basically you're checking the horse and carriage out of the stable. So the health department, the Department of Consumer Affairs, the NYPD, they all are allowed to come in here and inspect this book and inspect the stables and everything like that anytime they want to. So this just tells people the license number of the horse has a license, the name and license number of the driver has a license, and then the medallion number, so the carriage has a license. And
still, problems persist. In early December, a car and a horse-drawn carriage collided at 10th Avenue and 55th Street, once again raising questions about whether it's safe for these animals to be on city streets. As New York City decides the fate of the carriage horse industry, one thing is clear. The passion on both sides runs deep. The outcome will shape not just an industry, but the city's identity. Will these iconic carriages remain a part of New York City's legacy, or will they fade into history? This has been Mia MacGregor and Maud Al-Qadim.